Hi guys, welcome back to CEOCAST, and I'm especially excited for this episode because I'm with someone who I've known for a very, very long time by the name of Hamza Zahoor. He owns several companies, been doing bits, and he's only 22, 23? 23. So yeah, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry, bro.
Yeah, guys, my name is Hamza Zahoor. I've, like Raheem obviously introduced, I've got a couple of companies. I'm humbled to be here myself actually today because, you know, Raheem is a dear friend of mine who I've known for many years. And when he told me that he started a podcast, straight away I wanted to be involved to help him, but also to learn from him as well, because I think you never stop learning. So yeah, that's why I'm here today.
And yeah, we're going. What are your companies then? Because I've known you for such a long time, to a point. I remember you started Arabian Outfitters.
Urban Outfits, yeah.
Sorry, bro. EVO vape liquor. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I used to vape and buy liquor for you all the time, which is sick. Yeah. And now, obviously, you've got Brio's Burgers, and you've the other thing, Social Awakening.
Yeah. So
tell me how that all come about.
So just so everyone knows, I have been very business minded from very early. From a very young age, I knew I wanted to go into business. Literally from the tender age of 10, 11 years old. Believe it or not, you know, I was genuinely on the business route. I used to tell people straight away I want to go into business. My cousins used to almost get surprised when I used to say, "Oh, I want to go into business."
Was that more because were your family involved in business at all, or was it just like
no, not really.
Something
actually,
that you really
not
wanted to
really.
do?
Yeah. I don't know. I genuinely believe sometimes that entrepreneurship is innate. Some people just have it, and some people don't. Not to say that you can't learn it. But I genuinely believe that
some people have the willpower to start.
Some people have, you know, that thing in them
edge.
where they know that they want to go into it, and you can't control it. You can't control it. It's just a part of God's will. Like some people are born to be singers, some people are born to be rappers, some people are born to be artists. I believe entrepreneurship is the same.
100%.
So from a very young age, I think the only thing that was really introduced for me from a very young age was technology. Because my dad worked in a computer shop, so I used to always play around with laptops. You know, I was like a little geek in primary school. You know, I wanted to be the fastest at typing. Things like that. So technology was very kind of normal to me even before it became a big thing. How it is today. But yeah, that was the technology side of things, and then I don't know again how I was interested in business, but I remember so vividly when I was about 10, 11 years old, I used to sit there and I used to go through business ideas of what I want to do when I'm older. And then I kind of realized...
What was the first thing you came up with?
So I made I remember this very vividly. I sat down in front of a computer and I opened Microsoft Word and I wrote down a list of different businesses that I wanted to go into. Not at that age, but that I wanted to go into
in the future,
eventually.
obviously,
And when I look back on it now, I find it very ironic because I think some of the things that I've gone into make sense now, which I had no control over. But I remember 3 of the businesses that I had listed was a restaurant, a hotel, and a shisha lounge. Believe it or not, at 11 years old, I was thinking about shisha lounge, and it's strange.
What did your dad think of that?
It's strange because you know what? Funnily enough, I have a very good relationship with my parents. Shisha was always in my house, even though my dad didn't really smoke it. We just always used to have it, and luckily my cousins, you know, they used to be very open for me, you know, sitting with them and eventually trying it here and there. And I don't know why, very early on, and this is before the shisha lounge craze now, very early on, we're talking about what, 10, 11 years ago, I saw where the market was going, believe it or not, and I just wrote that on my list. But yeah, so very early on I knew I wanted to go into business. Over time, I tried to learn little things. And this is before I even met you. When I was in secondary school in Loxford, the first ever thing I tried was, do you remember the Ralph Lauren craze?
Yeah. What, the polos and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I was very business minded. I saw the craze. I saw that all the young people were going for knockoffs, for the fake versions of the Ralph Laurens. And so I found a supplier on, I think it was Gumtree. And I contacted him. He had fake polos. So he was selling them for about £15 a piece. I said to him, let's do business. I started buying them for £15 a piece, selling them for £25 a piece, selling them on Gumtree, selling them to people in Loxford. That was probably my first ever venture.
Do you know how many you sold roughly?
at least 50 to 100.
Okay, so you made quite a bit of money.
Yeah, but at that time I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But that was my first.
But that's like
venture.
the Kickstarter for everything.
Yeah, and I was about 13 at that time.
Yeah.
Very young. But after that, so honestly, guys, just to let you know, I have tried every business under the sun. Because I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneurship, but when I was young, although I had a list of businesses that I wanted to start, I knew I couldn't go into those.
You got to have a taste of everything before you decide really what it is you want to do.
I don't know if that's true. I get the point of that, and I believed in that. But now when I think about it, I think a lot of people that are successful, they'll tell you go into something that you love or that you're passionate about. And I never really understood that at that age, because I was like, well, I don't have capital. I'm a kid, realistically. I can't open a restaurant. I can't open a shisha lounge. I'm not even 18 years old. So what can I do to make money to get me there? To put me on the kind of ladder of business, of having capital, so then I can then go into other things. So after that, I remember I released a website. So that was the first. So I also used to make websites for fun when I was in about year 6, year 7. I used to make websites just casually. Don't know why, but it makes sense now. And then I started a website which was a blog called Forever Street. So that at that time I was very keen on UK rap. Before it was what it was.
Okay,
that was my first like technological business online and stuff like that. And it was a blog, so it was before GRM Daily was about, it was before Link Up TV was about, it was when SBTV had made it. I saw Jamal Edwards' story and I thought,
I remember I bought his book and that motivated me so much.
So very early on, I was like, I could do this. You know, he's young, I can do it as well. So I started a blog, but I didn't focus on grime, I focused on rap, UK rap, because it was nothing at that time. There was a few artists that have now kind of peaked, like Our Dad, Sneakball.
Back then it was nothing like how it was.
Nothing.
I remember you used to know Our Dads and Show Shallow quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's how that started. So when I did the blog, I used to do like top 10s of weekly music, and people weren't really listening to UK rap at that time. So they actually tweeted me once and were like, oh, we love what you're doing, blah blah blah. And then there was other artists that were reaching out to me, and they were like, you know what, we'd love to do a video with you. Do a video with us, you can post it on your page. And effectively they get a free video out of it, but I get publicity out of it. And that's how the game worked at that time. But at that point, again, very young, didn't have any camera equipment, barely had any funds of my own. So I must have said to, actually my sister had a camera. So I was thinking, okay, I'll use her camera, and I'll go there and do the video. And the guy invited me to Lewisham. And again, very young, no car, nothing like that. So I said to my dad, can I go to Lewisham? He's like, for what? And I was like, I want to record this guy's video and rap music. And he was like, do you forget how young you are?
Yeah.
And I was like, so at that point, I realized this business is not going to work, because I can't really scale it. I'm too young. It's very difficult. But even at that time, I was using marketing to my advantage. So at that time, it was BBM. So I used to BBM people, promote the page and stuff like that. And naturally, sorry, I can talk for days, guys, because it's such a long journey.
I was going to say, this must be weird for you because... I don't know if you guys know, but Hamza's got his own podcast himself, part of Social Awakening. And this is probably the first time you've been a guest on a podcast. And naturally, I'm a very good talker. I've been in sales, so I know how it is. But naturally, I just like when I'm around people that I'm comfortable with. I'm very confident, very happy to talk. So that business kind of plunged at that point, and then naturally, I just went into different businesses, as you mentioned. I had a clothing runway before Urban Outfits, so that was an online clothing store. Then I transitioned at the same time. I transitioned into vape liquids, because I saw where the market was going. And the reality is, all of those businesses could have been successful and probably would have been successful, but I didn't really persevere with them, and now I understand why. And the reason why that is because you really have to have a passion about your business, because it's not an easy road. Despite what anyone thinks, business is not easy, especially at a young age, because you're looked down upon a little bit because people don't really take you seriously to a certain extent. And I realized that
it's easy to go into business with the mindset that you want to make money, which is probably what I did at that age. I thought, vape liquids, I can make money out there.
But you know what the mad thing is though? Sorry to disturb you.
No.
But the mad thing is, every business that you've done, especially with the vape one, you've done it to a professional degree.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I remember you used to have your website, and then even when I used to pick up packages off you because you only live around the corner to me. But you do delivery, obviously.
Yeah.
But even on your package, you had it branded. You had the whole bottle branded, and everything was so. It was like a shop could sell it itself.
Yeah.
And normally, if they wanted to think, okay, I'm going to go into vape liquids or something, they'll research how to make it or something themselves. I know you had a manufacturer as well, and they'll sell it maybe on Instagram, set up a page, but you done it like proper professional. And at that age, I was so inspired by it. I was like, this guy is sick.
You know what it is? I think with me, very early on, I used to really pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
And I used to always, how I like to see it is whenever I try to kind of speak to someone that wants to go into business, or even they want to be successful in a career, I always say you have to be like a sponge. You have to really take in everything, the good, the bad, the in-between. You have to learn everything. So what I used to do was, in my spare time in secondary school, I used to go home and listen to people like Tony Robbins and people that are successful, Steve Jobs, people like that.
Yeah.
But I used to look at what they were doing. And what I realized was, consistently across the board, any business that was majorly successful, they had a brand. They knew the power of marketing. They understood consumer behavior. Yeah. And I think I understood that as well, consumer behavior, very early. I don't know how. I don't think it was something that I learned. I think, again, it was a bit slightly innate, because I understood when something is hot, you have to jump on it and you have to make the most of it, like the Ralph Lauren's. At that time, I didn't know anything about business, but I just knew, okay, this is popular. Supply and demand, like people want this. Let me get it for them, make it easy for them, and try and make a profit on it. So, I think consumer behavior I've always understood, and so that's why I always like to do things professionally. Even with the clothing, I used to always brand them. I used to have my own labels on them, package them correctly. I always wanted the end user to really appreciate the effort that this has gone into. Like, it's not just a kid doing a business. And in fact, with online businesses, why I loved it was because I understood that no one knows who I am. No one knows who's running the brand. They're paying for a service or product. They're using their hard-earned money, and for them, they want to feel like they've spent money in a good way. So I didn't want anyone to know who it was. I wanted them to feel like it's a proper brand, in any case, in any business that I've done. So that's why I've really always paid attention to detail. And yeah, that's basically it.
No, that's amazing, man. I mean, that's what a lot of people can learn, is just going with the flow. You got to start on something when you're young, especially. Not especially when you're young, but you have to at least get a taste of something you want to do. Just do it. 9 times out of 10, it's probably not going to be successful. But it gives you the stepping curve, the learning curve to know what you want to do. For example, with me, I jumped onto car rentals. That wasn't a stepping stone that was a stepping stone for me in learning, but I knew it came to a point where that's not something I want to pursue fully in the future. And now it's opened up my mind to a point so much where I want a piece of everything. And well, that's probably one of the reasons why I started the podcast. But it's just, you got to get a taste of everything you want to know where you're actually going to go in the end. So I think that's really key.
Yeah, I think it's good to taste different things, because you realize about yourself. Because people often say, you're saying I should be passionate about something, that's what I should go into business in. But a lot of people don't really know who they are themselves. They don't know what they like. They don't know what their hobbies are. They don't know what their interests are, to a certain extent. So they think to themselves, or their interest may be nothing that they can even think about making a business in. So some people struggle with, okay, what is it that I'm passionate about? So you have to taste things in order to really understand yourself as well. But I think you should never be scared of failure. I think
that's the problem, like you were saying earlier to me, that's the problem with this generation. 100%. Some people don't tend to try things just because they think automatically, before they even start, they think, that's not going to do well, I'm going to fail. And so on and stuff like that. And they have a negative vibe from then. And that's why people don't jump onto things.
100%. And for me, I think I started very early on in business, but regardless, I saw so many failures, consistent failures in business. And it's easy to get demotivated, and it's easy to think, oh, am I really that good at this? Am I really going to be good at this? Am I really going to be who I think I want to be, or who I'm destined to be? But you have to remind yourself that there's a reason why this hasn't worked. Whether that's yourself or whether that's external factors or whatever it may be, but there's a reason for it. And I take failures every day, and people look at my life and think, oh yeah, he's got businesses, he's successful, he's 23 years old, but they don't realize what's going on behind the scenes. And people are very careful about what they show themselves on social media right now. They don't show their failures. They don't show how life really is. And that's one thing about me, is I don't like to live a lie. I'm very transparent. When I sit down with people, I tell them about my failures. I tell them about my daily struggles, even to this day, because it's important that they have a reality check, that it's not all glitz and glamour. Business is not easy. You're going to take hits every single day, but you have to keep pushing. And that's where the passion comes in.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. I agree with you. But leading on to that, that's where I'd say you've found your passion right now, which is what you call social awakening, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did that all come about?
So currently I've got 2 businesses that I'm actively managing. So Social Awaken was a business that I started in uni. I started in 2017. Again,
just to give a bit of perspective, when you joined uni, how old were you at that point, and how old are you now?
I failed my A levels. So I resat my 6th form. I did BTEC. Although it's taboo, and there's a lot of memes out there. There's a lot of memes out there.
Man. I can't say nothing.
Yeah, I'm a BTEC success story. That's what I am. But no,
I'm not.
But no. So I started uni. What was it? 18, I think.
Yeah.
What age do you normally start? 19, I think. 19,
something like that. Yeah.
So something like that. 18, I think. I don't even remember. And yeah, so I went into uni. The only reason I went into uni was for my family. I understood the importance of uni, but for me, I just realized that my path was entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But regardless, I thought, let me go into it. Let me give it a go. Let me at least try. And I'm very proud that I completed it, regardless of managing businesses. But Social Awaken is a marketing agency, is a social media agency. I started in 2017, so I think I was in second year of uni.
Okay. Yeah.
I think second year. Yeah, second year. And yeah, basically I started it. At that time, social media wasn't what it was today, or what it is today. And straight away I just realized that there's a opening, if that makes sense. Like I always have.
Like opportunity.
Yeah, like I always have. I've seen, okay, there's this missing in this market. Let me jump on it and let me see. So it wasn't like anything different to anything I've done before.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be passionate about marketing. I just naturally became good at it.
Yeah.
How it actually started was I used to love going out. So I was working at the time as well in the phone industry. So I was making decent money for the first time in my life, really. I don't come from money or anything like that. So I was earning my own money. I was working in the phone industry, and I really loved hospitality. I loved going out to restaurants. I loved going to shisha lounges. I loved going to spas. I loved hospitality.
Yeah.
So I used to go to different places all the time, every week. And just experience new places, as well as places that I loved going to on a regular basis. And what I realized was, at that time, Snapchat wasn't what it is now as well. But I wasn't an influencer or anything like that. But every time I used to go out, I used to always snap where I was.
Yeah.
And a lot of people always used to ask me, where is this place? Tell us where you are. We want to go there as well. So a lot of my friends used to start asking me, okay, we want to go there as well. So that's when I realized, like, where I'm eating or where I'm smoking shisha or whatever it is, it's an amazing establishment. How do people not know about this? There's something missing. Like, people should be able to know about this information without asking me.
Yeah.
And then I found out about Snapchat filters.
Yeah.
So I started speaking to a few people, like, why don't you use Snapchat filters in your restaurant? If I had a Snapchat filter, they would automatically know where I am, and they wouldn't ask.
Yeah.
And the people that don't ask, they don't have the courage to ask where you are. They don't want to pop up or anything.
It's a marketing tool, isn't it? Because you go to a restaurant, if they got a Snapchat filter, you're going to use it.
Exactly.
And then everyone in your Snapchat's going to see that. And it's good for the business, because think about how many customers they have a day. And then if everyone's using that Snapchat filter, the word's getting spread, and you don't even have to do... Obviously, 100%. You have to do your marketing, but that's one main thing of your marketing.
100%. Snapchat filters is a very, very good way to market. So that's when I realized, like, social is not being utilized correctly. There was, obviously, social existed, and there were brands posting on there and stuff like that, but I don't think they really paid attention to detail or really understood consumer behavior or understood, how to really engage your audience.
Yeah.
So literally at that time, I thought, okay, hold on a second, I think I've got something here. On top of that, I had the clothing business at that time. which was quite successful. It was international. We were getting orders all over the world. And at that time, I built a lot of relationships with influencers.
Yeah.
So this was before influencer marketing was a thing. I was sending my products out to influencers all the time. They were promoting it. And I used to get orders off the back of that. So I already had a relationship with influencers. So I thought no social media agency that already exists is utilizing influencers as far as I know. So why don't I add this into the mix of the idea that I will invite influencers to establishments. They'll get a free meal or whatever it is. Yeah, that's how it works, guys. Just in case you didn't know, these influencers get free experiences. But yeah, so I realized, okay, this is how it's going to work. But again, I didn't have much knowledge in it. Although I built my clothing line to about 10k followers. I had experience with social media and marketing, but I didn't have experience in doing it for someone else. So I thought, you know what's the best way that I can do it is I can learn on the job. I can go in with no expectations, have very basic brand awareness myself, and just approach businesses and ask them if they're interested in working with me for free. I started for free. I used to say to businesses, you know what, I'll market your business, I'll manage your social media platforms, I'll take pictures for you, I'll do everything for free. For a month, for 2 weeks, whatever it was. And if you're happy, you can continue. If you're not, no problem. So at least you got something out of it.
So I was going to say, so who were some of your first clients when you did that?
So my first ever client, so I actually started by sending emails to loads of different businesses and DMs. And the first client that got back to me was Big Mo's Diner.
Okay,
based in Beckton. Initially at that time, they only had Beckton and Aldgate. So I reached out to them. They got back to me. They were like, sounds interesting. Let's set up a meeting. So although I was professional, although I had worked in the phone industry and I knew how to communicate, how to present myself, it was my first business meeting, officially proper, because all my other businesses, it was all online. I didn't have to be customer facing or anything like that. So this was very different. So I realized, okay, I have to go look the part, act serious. So I went to the meeting. I spoke to Paige, who was there at the time. She used to deal with marketing and stuff like that. So I just convinced her. I spoke to her about everything I would do. I went in there with a report, and I said to her, you know, this is what I think we can do. And she said, yeah, that's fine. Let's do the 2 weeks. Let's try it. Let's see how it goes. And that was it. That's how it all began. And then within my first 2 weeks, I signed 2 clients. Paying clients. So Big Mo's Diner, eventually after the 2 weeks free trial, they signed on. And Ziara's, where I've just come from, Shisha Lounge in Gants Hill, they were my second client. Those were the 2 first clients I signed within 2 weeks. And I realized straight away I'm onto something. Businesses are giving me money. It's completely different to anything I've done before, because everything I was doing before was consumer based. This was B2B. I realized who has more money than businesses. As long as I'm giving something of value, they have the budgets there for that. So that's really how it got started. And I learned as I went along. And naturally scaled it.
I mean, it's been like a rolling snowball for you, because even when I was talking to you earlier, you said you've had clients like the bank, Scion, and you've had etc. But this is where the real inspiration, because it's one thing seeing, like you were saying earlier, like videos of Bill Gates, maybe Gary Vee, stuff like that, thinking they're so inspirational. But for me, it's even more inspirational when I see someone in-house, someone I know personally,
Thank you.
who's doing it. So you've inspired me in that sense, and it's given me that motivational factor of brain that someone I know is actually doing it. But what I'm trying to lead on to is where you've come now, which is Brios. How did that all come about? Because that was actually a really, when you told me that, I was like, wow.
I appreciate your kind words, but no, look, I've got a long way to go. I appreciate that, but I definitely have a long way to go. But so Social Awaken, it got to the point where I was at uni, I was juggling uni, I was working at EE at the time, whilst managing general life aspects, and I was managing a full-time business. And these clients, they were paying me, so I had to deliver their services. Regardless of how young I am, what I've got going on, I have to work. So there was times where I was in uni, I didn't do my dissertation till 24 hours until the due date. I was doing work for Social Awaken. I was selling the service, I was delivering the service, I was doing everything in between, going to meetings. I was a one-man team. People didn't know that. People assumed I had a team, but
Yeah.
I was doing everything myself. Naturally, it scaled to the point where I've worked with some of the biggest places in hospitality, which I'm humbled for as well. I've worked with STK, Wrap It Up, the Bank, Scion Lounge, the list goes on. And Brio's London, they actually got in touch with me because as the business grew, Social Awaken grew, it got to the point where I didn't have to reach out to clients anymore. My work kind of spoke for itself. And as I kind of grew a team and things like that, people wanted to work with us. I no longer had to email
approach people.
Yeah, those days luckily were kind of behind me. So Brio's London got in touch with us. So I wasn't a part of Brio's as they opened. They got in touch with me.
How long ago did they open?
So it was about July, I think it was.
This
they
year?
opened, yeah.
Okay,
July
yeah.
they opened. And so they were a client of mine for Social Awaken. They got in touch with us, and the owner that I met at the time, he was a very, very nice guy. We connected really well. We had the same mindset of law of attraction, things like that. And we just hit it off straight away. And he kind of bought into the idea of me as opposed to my brand of Social Awaken. He kind of bought into me. And he realized, okay, this is the right guy for us to...
He liked your characteristics, isn't it?
100%. And he really kind of saw that this guy is gonna take us to the level that we want to.
Yeah.
So I worked with them for a few months. We achieved great things as a starting business, and they kind of got to the point where they were constantly learning as well about the restaurant industry, we got into the opportunity that they kind of offered me an opportunity to come on board as a business partner. And the deal was right. I thought, this is so. Just to kind of simplify the story a little bit, my end goal for Social Awaken, the reason why I've always specialized in hospitality is because I always knew that I wanted to go into hospitality from that early age of 11, 12, where I mentioned...
So was that your initial goal when you started Social Awaken? You thinking...
No. So that's the funny thing. When I first started, it was not my intention. But now I look at it and I think, wow, when I was 11 and I wrote that Microsoft Word document about the businesses that I want to go into, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's why I love Social Awaken so much, was because I love marketing, but I also love hospitality. So when I first started Social Awaken, I didn't brand it as hospitality.
Yeah.
It was just at the beginning, the clients that I was attracting was restaurants and hospitality.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized I might as well niche down and focus on one industry. So now... as Social Awaken grew, I knew that, okay, my end goal is I want to have a marketing machine that I can open a restaurant tomorrow, I can open a hotel tomorrow, and I can put it through that machine of Social Awaken, and I can have customers straight away because the marketing model works.
Yeah.
So when I got offered the opportunity to become a partner in Brio's, I was humbled. I was blown away because I didn't expect to go into hospitality this early. I always thought I'm going to go into hospitality once I have built Social Awaken to a point where it needs to be maybe 28, 29. I'll get into hospitality. That was my plan.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came about, I was like, this is amazing. I would love to be a part. And I just got hands-on straight away. So that's where I am now.
Really, really good. So seeing you got into hospitality and you said you had a dream of coming into hospitality, now that you're in it, how have you experienced it? Because a lot of people get into it and they think, okay, it's going to be easy or something like that. You may even have the dreams or thinking, I can do this. But now you're actually hands-on compared to hands-on other people's businesses. Now you're actually in it. Mm-hmm. How's it been?
Yeah, so with Social Awaken, I was very hands-on behind the scenes with businesses of hospitality. So I understood how everything worked. But being hands-on as a business partner yourself in a business is very different. Business as it is, like I said, it's not easy. It's not what it seems.
It's not a walk in the park.
It's not a walk in the park. And hospitality, although I know it very well, being involved in it is a whole different ball game. But look, I love it. I think it makes sense. I truly believe this was what I was meant to be doing.
Yeah.
Whilst I love Social Awaken, and obviously that will continue, this has always been my end goal, and this is just a start of hospitality for me. So yeah, as it is right now, I'm really enjoying it. I really, really get hands-on. So if you do ever come to Brio's, you'll see me there. I'm happy to serve a table. I'm happy to clean tables.
Yeah, maybe one day we can get a video of you there.
Yeah,
maybe not a podcast, but just show you.
Yeah, look, I'm very
behind
hands-on.
the scenes of Hamza Zahoor.
Yeah, and look, I for me, I don't have that ego of how some people do about being a business owner. I might have a successful business already, and I've gone into Brios. People may assume that in business you can sit back and you don't have to do anything, but I believe the opposite. I've worked with some of the best restaurants and clients out there, and I've seen what works, and I've seen what places I like going to. And I think when the owner is present and active and
people
caring,
have more of a personal connection.
100%. And I genuinely care about every customer that walks in.
That's why I like doing these podcasts, because okay, there's one thing seeing the business, but knowing the person behind it. And especially when you do podcasts, you generally tend to have, or you feel like you have more of a personal connection with them. So people who'll be watching this, seeing you, oh, he's actually a cool guy and all that stuff. Let me visit Brios, or let me let him do my marketing or something like that. So I think it's quite amazing in that sense. But I can see what you're saying. When you're there yourself, people generally have more personal connection to you. And especially when you introduce yourself, like, hi, I'm Hamza, I'm the owner of Brios, something along them lines. They value the business more, and they tend to come back more. I think.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think people appreciate that. You might be the owner, but you're happy to clean our table. You're happy to serve us. You're happy to do whatever you need to do. You're not just relying on the people that work with you. And look, we're very lucky. We've got an amazing team at Brios as well. But I think early on, the business is still very new. It does need that love and that real connection from an owner. The love that only an owner can really give. And I don't think that will ever change. I've always been very customer centric. In my other business, I've been very client centric, where I really genuinely care. And I think that's why one of the things that people buy into me is that I don't just do it for the check or the money or the satisfaction. I do it because I genuinely care. And I really am passionate. So when a customer walks into Brios and they dine with us, whether that's eating takeaway or even a delivery, I do try to go extra mile to make them feel that we feel appreciated, because you can go to so many different places, and the fact that you've chosen us is a huge thing. I feel grateful every time a customer walks in, because they're coming in for whatever reason. They've chosen to come to Brios. They've chosen to dine with us. They're spending their hard-earned money. They have to have an experience that they're going to enjoy. And I've always been a customer of hospitality, and I know what I like. So I always, like I said, I always go to every table, make sure everyone's happy. And I'm also very open to feedback. And I think that's one thing that separates me from other business owners, is that sometimes in hospitality, when you're making the food, like when you have an establishment and you've put so much hard work into it, and someone criticizes your business, people get kind of thrown off a little bit. They get a bit negative, like, who's this guy telling us
100%.
about our food? But with me, I genuinely try to ask people, like, sometimes it's awkward for the customer if they're not happy, or they didn't enjoy their dish particularly that day, or something was wrong, or whatever it may be. Sometimes they struggle to say it. So I go to them and I say, genuinely, how was everything? Did you really enjoy everything? I want your honest feedback. And 9 times out of 10, everyone's happy, because we have really putting that effort into the food, into the service, into the ambience. And I've really tried to implement a lot of changes since I've come into Brios as well. Not to say it was bad before, but
it's just small improvements.
We want to constantly improve, and that's why I'm there. I've come on as a partner because I need to improve things. I want to take it to the next level. 9 times out of 10, everyone's happy, but you do get that 1 out of 10 in hospitality. It's a very subjective industry, but you have to be very open to it. You have to be open to feedback. You have to be open to making that customer feel that they're not kind of dissing you, they're helping you. And that's how I see it. If someone is giving me feedback, I appreciate it. I appreciate them giving me feedback to my face as opposed to going onto a review page, because that's not going to really get anywhere. I'm not really going to understand everything. If a customer is unhappy and they've asked me, and they've kind of spoken to me about why they're unhappy, I can really open a conversation and really take their feedback on board and try to go back to the drawing board and improve. Because like I said, we're very early on. This is my first venture in hospitality. We're always learning. Every single day we're learning. Every single day we're improving. So
you can never get enough knowledge, and that's why I stress to a lot of people.
100%.
That's why I want to get so many people in this podcast, because firstly, I can absorb everything. I think I'm a very good listener. But everyone else who watches these videos, I want to thank you firstly for watching them, but secondly, you don't realize how much knowledge is going into your head, and that's going to help you so much into the future. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so yeah, 100% I agree with you, and I think that's another reason why I started my own podcast, was because I wanted to learn from people in hospitality how they do it, or you know, what are the keys to success, because it's a very difficult industry. I don't know if you guys know this, but hospitality has the most suicide rates in any industry.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, amongst chefs, amongst business owners.
Yeah.
Because it's an industry where you are constantly delivering.
Yeah.
It never stops. You have a good day, you got to start again the next day. Everyone's happy one day, you got to make sure the food is just as perfect the next day. And you're constantly evolving and taking people's feedback, and you know, it's long hours, unsociable hours. So
like you was telling me before the podcast, you haven't even got time for a lot anymore. Really?
100%. To be honest with you, I'm working 7 days a week at the moment, and I have been for the past few months. Even when I was doing Social Awaken by itself, I was always working day and night, 15-hour days. But now, because I've put that love into Social Awaken, that time into it, I don't need to be there all the time. So I dedicate at least 2 days a week to Social Awaken, and now I dedicate 5 days to Brios, because that's my main priority right now. Because I know it needs the love, and it needs to be. I need to be there. I need to be present. I need customers to see me, so that they can feel welcome as well. And yeah, it's a constant grind, but that's what I love about business. I love the grind. I cherish it. Even when I was very early on, I used to love the 15-hour days, because although it was hard, although it was difficult, I knew my hours that I'm putting in is going to benefit me at some point. But the problem is, a lot of people struggle with that. They don't know, they don't have that same love for the time that they're putting in, and they don't realize, a lot of people kind of think the grass is greener when they're working in a job. They assume that, oh, I'm working 8 hours here. If I have a business, I could just have to work 2 hours a week. And
you got to put in more graft.
It doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I had one of my businesses, and I thought, okay, yeah, like I said, it was car rentals. So essentially, you just rent the car out to a person. You don't understand the amount of the background that you have to do, and it was taking up so much of my day. And I was thinking, oh, this isn't what I was expecting, and that's why, for that reason, that thing wasn't for me. Just because there's so much. That's another topic. I've got a person to cover that anyway. But yeah, I can see what you're saying is what I'm trying to put at. Yeah, and you know, for me as well, like when people kind of talk bad about employment, about where they're working, I kind of try to gauge why they're unhappy about their job, because I think our generation struggles in general with employment. You know, they're kind of in this perspective that they want to be in business. Everyone wants to be in business now, and it's not as easy as it seems. But more importantly, I worked employment myself. From the age of 16, I started working. It wasn't, although business was innate in me, I knew that I had to be in certain environments for me to become a better version of myself. I think that's been the most important factor in my life, regardless. Okay, now it's a very touchy subject to say to a lot of people, but personally, I'm not doing retail anymore. That's just because I choose not to. But I think it's so important to be in retail. So firstly, you know what it's like working for another person. You haven't got your own hours that you can choose or anything like that. But secondly, you realize how hard it is. And that what I'm trying to get at is, a lot of people nowadays, especially the youngsters, they don't want to get a job. They'd rather do other stuff to make money. They don't want that graft. And so they're not going to get hands-on, and they don't get that motivational factor to open their own business, which is why I just think it's the wrong mindset in that sense.
100%.
You know, because me and you both worked in Coffee My House. Shout out to them. they were sick, but it's so hands-on. And I think that's been I'm pretty sure you could say this as well, it's been a building block for my whole personality in terms of selling and building up your whole personality and everything like that.
Look, I think, you know, people that have the perspective that they don't want to work is a negative mindset. I think, look, from very, very early on, I knew I wanted to go into business. 11, 12 years old. Most people don't know at that age what they want to do in life. Forget going into business. But that didn't mean that I wasn't going to work. You know, I had side hustles. I had things that I was doing on the side. A lot of the businesses that we spoke about, I was always doing it on the side. I always had work because I valued it. I started working when I was 16. My first ever job was door to door. Very, very hard job. You're not paid a wage, you're paid commission only. You have to sell charity packages. That was my first job. Then I transitioned into the phone industry, and that's kind of where I was. But for me, I think who I am today, a big part of it was where I worked, because I was never as confident as I wasn't ever as confident as I was before those employments. Being in sales, being in retail, you get customer opportunities where you start speaking to customers, you start learning. For me, I have always been under the mindset that no matter what I do, even if life doesn't go my way, where I don't get into business, luckily I have, and I continue to work at that, but you never know. Although I have a lot of success as my vision, you never know. And I would never have the ego to say I'm not going to go back to work if it all didn't work out. Because for me, I think, look, work is great. You need to pay your bills. We're adults here. You can't rely on your parents or going into the roads or whatever you want to do. It's not sustainable. So excuse me. So
that's cool.
So for me, I really valued where I worked, and I tried to be the best. Number one, I tried to be in everywhere I went. I always strive to be the best, and I think you have to have that mindset. When I was in Carphone, I was one of the top sellers in the country, top 40 in the country at 18 years old. EE, I was always number one in my region. So for me, I valued those companies. I didn't see it as, oh, I've got work tomorrow. I saw it as, I've got work tomorrow.
I loved it because I don't know about you. I didn't know you at this point. When I was in secondary school, so meaning from year 7 to year 11, I was very, very, very quiet. I was that shy person in class who hardly used to say anything.
I remember even sixth form, you was
but you know what? When I got a job in retail and I'm speaking to different people every single day, or even when I've changed jobs and I've got a different team and all that stuff, I have become so much more talkative, and it's just something you learn, and I love it because it makes you the person who you are today. I can have this conversation 100%. With you. If I didn't do that,
you probably wouldn't have the podcast today.
There we go, mate. Because I wouldn't be able to have the confidence to even approach people. So it's just a big factor.
You have to value every moment in your life.
Yeah.
It's very,
don't take anything for granted.
You can't. And sometimes when you go through certain things, whether it's failure, whether it's success, whatever it is, you can't look at it in the moment as, why me? A lot of people have that mindset of, why am I going through this? Oh, I see Hamza doing this on social media. Oh, I see Raheem doing this on social media. No, because you don't know the struggles that we go through. You have to focus on your own life. You have to realize that everything that you're going through is a stepping stone, as you mentioned. I went through employment, and I'm grateful for that, because everything I learned, I now implement. Everything I've done prior to this point, it's helped me to where I am today, including the failures. Sometimes you don't appreciate the highs without the lows. So even now, like I have the mindset that I never have regret. Even if something went wrong. I've made poor business decisions in the past. Like every day, sometimes you make decisions that are wrong. When in the moment you think, that's going to be a good decision, and then 3 months later, 12 months later, you think, oh, that was the wrong decision. I regret that. But you can't regret, because what I always say is never regret. Just kind of value what you went through, because regretting means you're looking back and you're thinking, I went wrong. And whilst it's good to learn from your experiences, you shouldn't let the past dictate your future. I think it makes your future in some ways. 100%. And look, when you went through what you went through, like let's say, for example, I made a decision 12 months ago. And that decision that I made was a wrong one that I've now realized in hindsight. But at the time, it made sense to me. So even if I went back, even if I had the ability to go back, I probably would have made the same decision again, because at the moment it made sense. So there's no point of having regrets, because you have your decisions on a daily basis. You make your decisions now. You have to live with the repercussions or the success of it. So that's what I think. And I definitely, like I said, I definitely promote employment. I think it's better than doing nothing. It's character building at the least. 100%. And look, you're making money if you have visions of, opening a business. Or
bro, you can save that money to open your business.
100%.
In Carphone Warehouse, it was so easy to earn £1,000 a month. Sometimes even like 1,800, 2K, and that's as part time, just based on commission. That's what I used to earn anyway. But it's just so, you can save money in 6 months' time. You've got what, almost 20K.
But see, look, this is the thing, right? Our generation really, really, really has to learn the power of patience. I'm 23 now, but people don't realize I've been doing business for maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Starting from the Ralph Lauren polos. I've been doing business for a long time, and I've been doing other things. So I might have an advantage in terms of years, but that doesn't mean you can't start right now. And there's no point of you kind of living in the moment, in the sense where living a lavish lifestyle to impress others.
Yeah.
You should really look at your finances and say to yourself, if I really want to achieve success, if I really want to be a successful individual, I have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
So instead of going out, spending a couple £100 a week.
You know, it's funny. I used to live that life, and I look back at myself. And
Likewise.
Wow.
Likewise. And you know, for me, I never really did it for other people.
Yeah.
I always did it for myself because I wanted to enjoy the moment. But I've realized that you have to sacrifice in the short term if you want to achieve big things.
Hamza, I remember when I was working in Carphone, and I turned 19, yeah, and for my 19th birthday, I spent half my paycheck on a pair of Giuseppe's. And I look back at it like, wow, I thought I was rich. When I look back at it, I thought I was very rich, yeah. I just look back at it now like, what a waste of money. And why couldn't I have saved that? Why didn't I invest it in something else? Why didn't I buy shares in something? It's mad. There's a lot of things to learn in life. But you don't learn these things when you're not working or you're not earning money in the correct ways or anything like that. You need to learn.
The reality is, look, you learn from it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why it paid off.
That's what matters. Isn't it?
The problem is that we don't learn these things. At home, you don't really speak about money with your family. It's kind of a taboo subject. You know, you don't speak to it about your friends because no one has money, especially where we come from.
Yeah.
It's very rare, you know. And on top of that, you don't learn that in school. So how are you supposed to learn money management or the power of having your own money? Naturally, when you start earning money yourself, you start thinking, yeah, I can finally start buying things that I wanted to, which is not wrong. I don't think that's wrong. I think you have to just learn from it at least. And, you know, sometimes you have to get it out of your system, you know, every now and then. Sometimes I
think, you know, as much as I said, it was I learned a lot from, no, not learned a lot. I said I bought the Giuseppe's and I look back and like, it was such a waste. I've learned that, like you said, I'll go out of my system. Like, I've done it. I know what I did. I know what I did wrong. I know I shouldn't have done it. If I didn't do it, I'd probably, not saying I'll be going out splashing money, but I'd probably making the same mistake now that I did back then. So I'm glad in a way that I did it when I was 19.
Yeah, and credit to you for learning, because most people don't learn from the experiences.
Yeah.
And that's why they end up 40, 50 and then they start regretting life because they're like, I never learned. Not only did I not learn, because people learn, people kind of talk about certain experiences they've gone through, but they don't implement, they don't execute
100%
based on their failures or their decisions. So it's important to not just learn, but to actually take practice and ownership of what you're saying and what you're doing. There's no harm in splashing out here and there, but you have to justify it. You have to understand, okay, is this rational? And going back to our generation, you might look at me and think, oh wow, he's got a couple of businesses and stuff like that, but genuinely there's a lot of graft that goes into it, and I still have patience to a certain extent of, I know where I want to be, and that's not where I am right now. I know where I want to be. So
likewise.
Yeah, so you have to have a vision. You can't just have success overnight. Whilst we get marketed by people online telling us, yeah, you can get rich in 24 days or 25 days, and
a lot of people do that on Instagram. People, a sad thing is you see people getting blagged into it as well.
Yeah, and look, there's other things. There's things that, you know, there's genuine people out there as well. But you can look at things like trading. You can look at things like running a Shopify store. You can talk about different things that people promote that you can get rich quickly.
Yeah.
But none of those, I can tell you from first-hand experience. None of those you'll earn money straight away. Everything requires patience. The only thing that you'll earn money straight away is the roads. And that's not a life you want to live.
Straight up.
And that's why people get influenced so easily, because they look at rappers, they look at trappers,
and they see the cars, they see the watches, they see all the glamour.
But that life ends in two ways: either death or in
prison,
jail. And that's the truth, whether you want to believe it or not. You might be one of those people right now.
We've both seen it from our own eyes.
100%.
From people we know.
100%. Like, I've seen people that I grew up with go to jail.
Same.
You know, it's
probably the same people.
It's crazy, bro. Like, and that's the thing. Like, you have to kind of rationalize it that this is not the future. You know, it's easy to get glamorized by
talk to you, and obviously us having this conversation is mad, because when we went to Loxford, that's what we were surrounded by, left, right, and center.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're better than anyone else in that way,
of course
but
not.
it's just hard not to get caught up in that.
It is very hard to not get caught up in it. I think you have to be disciplined early on. And look, you know, you can make your own kind of mistakes. You can make mistakes because we're still young. You know, people think, oh, I'm 23 now. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. That's okay. You have 40, 50, 60 years left of your life. Just make the most of it. You know, just do what you love, do what you want to achieve, get those things done. Don't focus on the past of your mistakes of, oh, I'm 23 and I'm nowhere near as successful as this person. There's no point doing that because you're just going to get depressed, to be honest with you.
100%.
I used to do that. I used to look at people and think, raw, like these guys are young,
Why
they've done
am I not
it.
doing my thing?
Well, I'm working so hard and I haven't achieved half the things that people have achieved. But everyone, let me say one thing, right? Someone said this to me and it really resonated with me, was everyone lives their own journey. Everyone has a different journey. Everyone is destined to do different things. Don't compare my life with your life because you don't know the struggles that I've been through. Maybe you wouldn't even want the struggles that I've been through to get to the point where I've got to. So always be grateful of your moment. Always count your blessings. You know, never really look at other people and just be confident that what you want, you can make it happen as long as you put the graft in.
Everything is about timing, I believe. I'm a
100%.
firm believer of that because like I was telling you earlier on before the podcast, I was saying how I was 95%, for people listening or watching this, last year I was 95% close to opening a shisha lounge, launching one. Well, there was 4 of us. Anyway, didn't work out in the end. We were 95% close, meaning we had the place there, we had everything, whole business plan, all that stuff. This is moving on to the future of you as well, by the way.
Okay.
So, but I think what I'm trying to say is everything's about timing. It might not have been good then for me. God might have said, no, hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, you're a bit young. Yeah, do it next year or something like that, which is really why I'm keen on doing it. Sorry. But I wanted to ask, so in terms of timing, what do you see the future for yourself, your social media, Brios? Where do you see everything going?
You know, I think it's very easy to answer that question in the sense of what you want out of life. But I think this year has made me realize that you can't fully plan life.
100%.
And that's the reality. You can have goals, and I really believe in goals. I love to set goals. Every year I set goals. Every day I set goals.
It's the most important thing you can do. Otherwise, what else do you live for? If you don't have something on your board, on your phone saying, this is what I want by X amount of time, what are you actually trying to achieve?
100%. Like I've always had a vision board of what I want to achieve that year.
I've got one of them in my room.
Yeah, because it's important to visualize what you want, whether it's materialistic things or not. But I've realized that, yes, it's important to have goals, it's important to have plans, but you never really know. Like I didn't expect to be involved in a restaurant this year. That was not my plan. That was God's plan. So that I have to be grateful for. And you know, even if I tell you the story of how I got into Brios, it was very funny because the opportunity came about. It was very, very spontaneous. My business partners now, we went out, we were there to discuss something completely different. And the conversation just came up about my future, my end goal. They wanted to understand about me, about what I want out of life. And I explained to them what I said to you about getting into hospitality eventually. And they kind of saw the glitter in my eye about that he's really serious.
Passionate about it.
Passionate about it. And that's how the initial conversation happened. And one of the things I really believe in is law of attraction. So I believe that if you visualize it, if you believe that something can happen, it will happen. If you give positive energy out to the world, it will give back to you. I genuinely believe that, and I've really learned that this past 12 months. But in terms of my future, you know, look, I'm like I said, I always like to be the best at what I do. I want to take Brios to the next level. I really want to get it to the point where it's a self-sustaining business where I don't have to be there, but I can choose to be there and still give that customer service that I give right now. But you know, other branches, I also want to get into other parts of hospitality, like I always wanted to. I'm looking to open up a shisha lounge soon myself, which I've always wanted to do. In fact, I'm
going to touch on that in a second, but carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so I actually, like I said to you, I wrote it on my list when I was about 11. So when I was about 15, I seriously started looking at properties when I was that age. And this was before the shisha lounge craze. And then later on, then I kind of realized that, look, I don't have the capital. Secondly, I'm not even 18 myself, so I can't even consume shisha legally. How can I have a shisha business, right? So I kind of let that idea go. And then when I was about 18, when I was working in Carphone Warehouse, a friend of mine at the time owned a estate agents.
Yeah.
So I said to him, let's go view some properties. I wanna get into the shisha lounge game. But it wasn't right timing for me. It didn't work out like how it didn't work out for you. And I realized why, because at that point I hadn't started Social Awaken. Now look, I'm grateful that I've got so many friends that are in the shisha lounge industry, that are in the restaurant industry, that I can genuinely call friends. I can constantly get advice from them. And when I'm ready to kind of launch that, I would have their support, not their, they wouldn't wish bad upon me because I'm in the industry. They would kind of push me because they know, look, this is the guy, this is our friend. So that's my future. That's what I see. Continue to scale Social Awaken, get it to a point where we become a bit more international, because right now we're focusing more on UK clients. We've worked with clients outside of UK, like in Dubai and things like that, but more properly, maybe offices around the world at some point. But I don't want to rush things. I do realize that I'm young, and it's easy to get caught up in things. It's easy to scale a business too quickly before you're ready. I've tried that in the past, and it doesn't always work out, because when you try to scale too fast, it can fall flat on your face. So I now appreciate patience. I appreciate that I want to take Brio's one step at a time. I want to continue taking Social Awaken at one step at a time, and eventually grow the marketing agency and get into more hospitality ventures like hotels, restaurants, shisha lounges, things like that.
Yeah, Hamza, so what I wanted to ask you is, you know how we both said about shisha lounges and all that stuff? When I wanted to start it last year, it was competitive. This year is very, very competitive. So how do you deal with competition for shisha lounge firstly, but also in hospitality? Because there's so many burger places nowadays. I've seen it all over the place, but how do you deal with it? I mean, it's very hard. So what's your views on that?
Yeah, I think the hospitality industry will always be competitive. I think shisha lounges and restaurants, especially halal restaurants and obviously shisha lounges, it's a big part of our culture, Asian Arab culture. And so naturally people have seen the success of it, so they all want to kind of get involved in it. They want a piece of the pie. But what you'll realize is that we're touching probably a recession. Let's be honest. We've got Brexit coming up. It's going to be a tough time. So a lot of businesses already this year have struggled because consumer stability is not there. People are not spending as they were the previous year.
100%.
So the businesses that you look up to and that are successful, they're actually down at the moment, because I see those figures because I'm a part of it, not only with Brios, but I see it a part of Social Awaken, because that affects my line of work, right? So I know that it's very competitive, but it's also a difficult time right now. But I think you have to always find a way to stand out. And it seems easier said than done, but there's always things that you can notice that some shisha lounges or some restaurants aren't doing that you could potentially do.
I remember when I was going to open it, we went to a good 100 different shisha lounges all over the country trying to find different things. And we found a USP.
Don't share too much information.
I'll tell you after.
But
no, sorry, carry on.
I think there's always going to be USPs. There's always going to be things that you can stand out in. And naturally, look, like you said, burgers are very competitive. How do we stand out? We stand out because we have different colored buns. The service. I try to give world class service, Michelin star service.
It's important.
In a burger place, which you wouldn't expect. If you go to your local burger place, you're not going to get that level of service. You're paying low end for a burger or middle end. You're not going to get service without being charged service charge. I pride myself in giving the best service, as well as my team, obviously, giving great food and giving a great overall experience that they can then think that when they leave the place, wow, this is amazing. Like, I can share some interesting stories. Like I've had people from Birmingham, Manchester, they've traveled all the way just to come to Brio's because they've seen it on Instagram, they've seen the hype of it, and they want to try it. And I make sure that when people come from that far, even if they come from local, but if they come from far, they really, really get that experience because they've gone out of their way to become a customer.
Yeah.
Now I need to make sure that when they leave, they're just ecstatic. They're talking about the service, they're talking about the food, and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can only do as well as you can. Not every single customer is going to be happy. That's a part of hospitality.
Yeah.
But you have to do everything in your power that you can. And if they're not happy, you really take their feedback on board.
Yeah.
But I think there's always going to be room for other competitors. Especially when a model is successful. Naturally it opens up room for other businesses. So for example, if you opened up a shisha lounge, let's say 6-7 years ago, it would have been harder for you to get customers than it is now because the industry wasn't there yet.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I didn't think of it like that actually.
Yeah, the industry wasn't ready. So the businesses that have been there now have reaped the rewards because they naturally grew over time.
Yeah.
And now the past couple of years they've really boomed because of the industry. Like, let's be honest, shisha, for example, it wasn't a mainstream thing. It was strictly for Asians or Arabs.
Yeah.
Edgware Road was the place for you to go. But now it's opened up to all ethnicities, all walks of life, affluent, middle class. Everyone smokes shisha now.
It's become almost like the new.
It's a social
pub.
thing, right? Yeah, it's exactly. It's a pub as opposed to. It's like a place where you don't have to drink alcohol, but you can have fun. You can have that experience.
And you know what it is? It's so chilled out as well. You're sitting back, relaxing, smoking a shisha, whereas in other places it might be where it's quick in and out, or very wild.
Definitely.
It's either one or the other.
Exactly. So naturally, like I said, the industry wasn't there. Even now, when you look at the amount of brands that are there for flavors, for bases, the industry has come a long way. So I've obviously been a spectator of the industry for a long time, so I know how far it's come. And I think if you wanted to get into shisha lounge, trust me, I would never. I would always push you to do it. I think it's one of those things where you have to really act as opposed to saying, obviously it didn't work out for you for whatever reason, but don't kind of see that as a thing of, oh, it didn't work out, now I just need to chill. Start thinking of, okay, cool, the industry is very competitive now, what do I need to do to stand out even further now? And how can I really get there this time and make it a success? And you'll get there, man. You'll get 100%. There 100%.
Hamza, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. I want to thank you a lot, man.
Likewise.
I mean, like I said, there's so many different walks of life, and for me, you're first-hand inspiration I've met from when I first joined Lockswood. So when I was 16, 17, I saw that, and you inspired me so much and motivated me throughout my whole life. So I really want to thank you. Be sure to follow Hamza if you want to follow. Mention your socials. Yeah,
if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram. I am Hamza Zahoor. So that's I am HUMZA ZAHOOR. If you want to check out the restaurant, Brios, that's BRIOS London, on Instagram, on all social platforms. And let us know what you thought of the podcast as well. This is my first time being on the other side of the podcast. So hopefully we'll have more reviews. Hopefully you guys got some value out of it. And if you ever want any advice, any questions you have, please let me know. Reach out to me or Raheem directly, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Wicked. And guys, don't forget to follow CEOCAST. Comment your feedback as well. Let us know what knowledge you gained from this. And also, a question of the day. Let us know what kind of business idea you've got. What inspires you? What do you want to do in your life? But I just want to take this time to say thank you to everyone who's supported so far. I didn't even see 300 followers on Instagram coming so quickly, so I want to thank everyone for that. Be sure to subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We now have Twitter as well. I'll put all of them links here right now. But yeah, I want to thank you so much. So hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Is that cool? Yeah, perfect, bro. That was sick. Cheers, man. Wicked. That went well, innit? You're sick, man. I'll read that. I'm excited to see the